talking to one of the showrunners, writers, executive producer of the new Apple TV Plus series, Government Cheese, Aeysha Carr. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think Government Cheese has such a distinct feeling to it, especially for many series that take place during this time period. I'd love to know the conversations that you and your co-creator Paul Hunter were having that came up to what led to the series as it is now.
Oh God, I mean, so many conversations. I think what led to it, sorry, when we started, Paul had this idea of his family that he wanted to make and talk about. And he made a short film with David. And then, when I came on, it was like, how can we make this into a half-hour show for Apple? And I think the idea of a half-hour show initially to Paul seemed really scary because in his head, it was a half-hour sitcom, and I think that, when I said to him, it's a half-hour show, but let's just think of that as the amount of minutes that we're doing. There's a lot of really interesting dramedies that are happening that are in this half-hour space. And so let's just make something that we love. And so we came to it as how, we both have a love of independent film. We both have a love of kind of different storytelling. And so we just approached it from that sense and created these little mini stories within the stories, decided to tell all the episodes a little differently, shoot them a little differently, different themes. And kind of once we landed there, I think then when we branched out into bringing on costume designers and set designers, Paul, as a very visual person, everybody brought something to make this into this very beautiful and unique piece of art that it is now.
It's so funny that you mentioned originally viewed as a sitcom, because when you watch it, it's so surreal and there's plenty of comedy, but also there's enough drama. And I think what stands out about the series as well, it is refreshing to see a series where there's a prominent Black family of this period, and the drama that does surround them isn't bogged by or derived from trauma. It is derived from the aspirations they all have, no matter how eccentric it might be.
Yeah.
I was curious, the bit machine is far more normal compared to Einstein, who is like, I want to be a professional pole vaulter.
Which is a real thing. It's in the Olympics. It's not, it's a real sport.
And so I'm curious, when you were creating these character arcs throughout the season of these different goals, how did you guys set on each one? Because, like you're saying, pole vaulting is a real sport, but for someone of Einstein's brain, his father's like, this dude should be going to Harvard.
Right. Yes. I mean, those are things, the wackiness of it. The pole vaulting, when you step back from it, is probably the least amount of story. It's more kind of interesting and funny and something that's really happening in the backdrop of things. Einstein really comes into intersects with Hampton's story kind of later on in the season. So things like the pole vaulting, we just got to have fun with and use it as a storytelling tool and use it as something really visual happening in the background. And I think because we knew where Einstein's story was going to go and how it needed to happen, we could have these kind of weird things of using Einstein to help us get things in the places we needed them for other characters, And so if you really think about what his story arc does, it's very small. He's a character that is doing this thing that impacts everybody.
And I also love, you mentioned how everyone in all aspects of the production of the series tied in. And I think the production design is so essential to story. Warren Allen Young's production design is phenomenal in creating that retro mid-century feel, and how it ties into a storyline as she is, wanting to do interior design. I would love to go more into the conversations of building these sets, which all feel so unique and colorful and vibrant.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a color story, a color palette that was decided upon. There was photographers that were used as inspiration of Stephen Shore and Eggleston. And it's like once those kind of templates were laid out, or those like here's the sandbox we're playing in, everyone came in and just made just elaborate sandcastles with, and it's like once you kind of set the rules, I think, and then you give people the freedom to do whatever they want within those rules, you can really create something beautiful. I mean, Warren just blew everybody away when we walked into that set for the first time. And I even say, like, in episode 1, when Hampton walks through the door and, when all the lighting and all the colors done, so when you see the finished product, that wallpaper like jumps off the walls. It's magical. And that was all Warren. And it just, everybody was given the space to create something beautiful, and they all did.
And I had the lovely opportunity of talking to David Oyelowo yesterday.
He's
and
magical.
We were talking. He's just brilliant, one of our
Yeah.
best working actors. But also, the entire ensemble of this
Is
cast
amazing,
is just brilliant. I would love to know more about the conversations of building this ensemble. I think there's a lot of great, character actors. Like
Yeah.
Bokeem Woodbine is just
Oh, Bokeem.
one of a
Bokeem
kind.
is an icon. You can't,
Yeah.
Bokeem, we were lucky to get Bokeem, right? Bokeem graced us with his level of skill and his acting. I mean, he's so just phenomenal. And he has a great story about his journey to the process. But everybody, so, even in a story of Simone, her level of acting is on par. Like, her and David play off of each other. It just in such a beautiful way, and in so many just body language, looks, there's so much more than just the lines they're delivering that they brought to this, that, she found in layers of Astoria, how she approached Astoria. And I think even Evan as Einstein, who's such a weird character, that I think if we had found an actor that was kind of putting on the Einstein costume, it would have seemed very shticky, right? It could have gotten very broad. But if you come from it from a place of grounding with just, this is who he is very confident in who he is and what he's saying. They are not jokes to him. He is imparting knowledge and wisdom. And so Evan just brought that groundedness to this character that could have come off, so broad is the right word. But, and then Harrison Jahai was just amazing in how he did the nuance of anger, and not making it seem one note, and finding little smiles in it. And like when we see his smile on screen, like you're like, yes, I want more. And, but he doesn't keep it from us, so he brought all of that nuance to how to not play just straight angry the whole time, but how to have those softer moments with his mom, have that frustration with his brother. So we really assembled a cast. And then Bokeem, I don't even know how. He is just so talented. I mean, he's been an icon. So us getting him, we were just incredibly lucky. Glad that he finally said yes.
Yeah. And there's also like Louis Calsalmi. Like, you're like, I need someone with an intimidating face to play a mobster.
And not just a mobster, a French-Canadian mobster.
Yeah. Which is so jarring, because when you see him in like Killers of the Flower Moon or something, it's just a total opposite.
It's a total opposite. And they all, I mean, the Prevost brothers as the whole was also like a weird place of to not seem silly. We needed them not to seem silly. We needed there is a silliness there, and they're all kind of dressed differently, and they all have different characters that are in there by the way they dress, and so all of those, they just brought so much character and groundedness.
And I personally loved the Carmichael show. I think that was just brilliant. And you worked on it. Do you feel like your time there, especially because a sitcom focused on the family unit brought into this series, you felt like it helped, what you had like experience in a way, although because, those sitcom threads, I would say, are still there for a show that is so surreal.
Oh, no, the storylines are all very, very clear. And I think to make it surreal, you have to be very clear about what the storylines are. I think working with Gerard, who loved to death, he wanted to also, at the end of the day, he was making a multicam that was different from any other multicam. And he really, working with him, which he really wanted to do stories differently. We told weird stories. We had a sitcom where he shot his dad with a gun. We talked about a lot of things that are now more commonplace that were not commonplace there, so no, every experience that I've had working has given me some tool for my toolkit.
And I also love because we've mentioned so many times the surreal nature, so the parable-like events that Hampton constantly is running into. I don't want to give anything away for those who, as will be surprised by the show, but
Yeah.
like when you guys were writing those events, where did you feel enough of those were inspired by, whether it's from like actual scripture, because there's one specific that
Yeah.
is very much text-based, to just you guys just throwing ideas and you're like, oh my God, that's just perfect.
Oh, I don't know that anything was just throwing ideas. I think the one that is the clearest is the Gospel of Kenny Sharp that we made up. But it was kind of showing the audience that we're going to talk about religion, but in this kind of loose way, and that everyone can be an apostle. Like that, I think really set the tone of what we were doing with the show and this kind of different storytelling, so that really set our tone. But other than that, yeah, there's stuff that we pulled from the Bible that I think people that know the story will see it. And if you don't know the story, it doesn't inhibit you from enjoying it.
Are you guys already planning ideas for season 2? Is that just never stopping? Is there any way we get more John Ortiz, personally?
I mean, John Ortiz is his breakdowns were great. Such a great actor. We will see. We will see what happens. It's not up to us. It's up to you guys. You guys have to watch it.
Well, for everyone who watches this, I personally recommend Government Cheese. I think it's fantastic freshman season. I think everyone involved, from the acting to what you guys do behind the scenes, is fantastic. And I'm so excited to have people finally get to watch it. So thank you so much.
Sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.